Okay, the next technique that we're going to look at is scumbling, and similar to every other technique we've demonstrated, we're going to put a background down. Again, just to reinforce that we put a background down or a ground colour down so that the other colours that we put on top are richer, so they're not just competing against the white surface. And also with some techniques such as scumbling, it's pretty important that we have a background similar to dry brush and similar to stippling, because you can see the background through the technique. Alright, scumbling is an interesting technique. It can often give you very smoky skies. It's a smooth technique, but it's also fairly quick and gestural. It's almost a combination of the stippling you see here and the dry brush. So what we're going to do is commonly used to create skies or trees or smoky, cloudy atmospheres. So what we're going to do is we're going to transition again from dark to light, and the technique uses a kind of pushing around of the paint on the surface. So you can see here the paint, I'm using the side of the brush this time, and I'm pushing the paint around because I want a kind of smoky, almost dry brush texture, but I want it to be smoky. And you can see I'm using the brush on the side because I want to push the paint back in, but I want it to be quite smooth and diffused. But I'm using rounded movements, and that's what makes this technique different from the others. You use primarily rounded movements. Here you can see that it's got, you can still see the brush strokes and you can see how they're overlapping. Similar to the other techniques, I'm pulling in from dark to light in the colors, but you sometimes want to see in scumbling some of that transition and change so that you can see the brush strokes. So again, rounded movements. You can have some parts where it's a little bit more dry brushy. The transition with this technique can be a little, as I've just said, it can be a little bit less clear, and that's kind of part of the technique. So, but you can always bring colours back in. Again though, still using this rounded technique, side of the brush, not the point, and it gives that kind of smoky blended texture. Alright, so as we move to the lighter colour, it's similar with the other techniques again, that I'm going to bring the white in down the ends to keep a little clean bit, and then I'm going to move it in. Again, I've got a reasonable amount of pressure. I'm not using the tip, I'm using the side of the brush so that I can use the whole length of the brush to move the paint around, and that gives you that kind of uneven texture, which is what scumbling often gives. A little bit blended, kind of soft but uneven. Still giving a transition from dark to light, but you can see the rounded brush strokes. So scumbling also often has with it a sense of movement because of these rounded brush strokes. You feel like the paint is animated on the surface. Okay, so, whoops. Now, if something like that happens, see I've added too much colour back in there, you can blend it back in. If it's very light, see I've added a bit too much white in there, I can take a little bit of yellow on top and just move it over the top again. And if I take it too far back here, which sometimes does happen when we're trying to adjust, I can grab some more blue and just bring it back. Again, side of the brush, roundy roundy, and that is our technique of scumbling.